that's just what I loved about Blues, is that we weren't this kind of like, you know, I guess elitist, had everything, you know, we had to work hard and we still had success despite the fact we were kind of having to deal with those barriers, I guess. Hi, I'm Kerys Harrop.
Hi, I'm Christie Harrison-Murray. So Kes, what was it like to play for Blues?
Yeah, it was amazing. Obviously we were just talking a little bit about how much it's changed. I was here for a long time, came all the way through the academy. The club's just progressed massively, and even in your time here as well, it would have come on leaps and bounds. But I was just thinking about little memories of the academy. We used to train at University of Birmingham, so we didn't have a dedicated facility like this. Had to just rely on other places. And even at the first team then as well, we were training there and inside an athletics pitch. You know, so have athletes running around. You know, as you're trying to train. So that was interesting. And then, did you ever experience old Silhillians? Old Sills? Did you? Very briefly.
Yes.
So you know, again, just like an open facility, which was like a rugby club. You know, you'd come in from training, there'd be kids and parents having drinks in the bar. So I don't know. It's just funny, isn't it? It's just how it was at the time. You know, there wasn't as much backing and funding in the not just at Birmingham but other teams as well. But it's fond memories I'll have. You know, that's just what I loved about Blues, is that we weren't this kind of like, you know, I guess elitist, had everything. You know, we had to work hard and we still had success despite the fact we were kind of having to deal with those barriers, I guess. So I loved my time here, but coming back now, you know, doing bits with the under-21s and just being in and around every now and again. Yeah, it's great to see the investment that's gone into it, and I know that you personally would be benefiting from that as well.
Definitely. I think you left as I had joined the club, and in the last 5 years there's been a lot of change, a lot of challenging moments, particularly to try and help the women's team grow here, and for young players that come through our academy aspire to play for our team, and obviously to be back at the top stage is the aim for the club. But it's a very proud moment to be able to come full circle and see the development here at the club and the investment of the owners, particularly even in the last 18 months and particularly this year. The facilities for us to be an elite team and to challenge and to want to be again a top side like Birmingham was. I remember playing against Birmingham then, and I think for us obviously to help continue pushing the game on, it's developing so fast, so it's allowing us to kind of stay with it. I think that is hugely important. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think just having everything in house is a big thing. You know, you've just come out of your gym session, which is here at the club, whereas we used to go down to a local gym again, just with random people in Solihull. You know, so it's great, and then hopefully maybe this facility here might be dedicated to the women's. And you know, I think back to when I was younger. You know, it was very different. You know. Players just were from Birmingham. You might have the odd person who was from Chester or down south, but generally it was just local Birmingham girls playing for the club. Obviously now, you know, got top international players. You know, just announced Van Egmond, Australian international, some of the Korean girls, top Scottish internationals like yourself at the club. But you know, just the team has just changed so much. You know, whereas when I was there, it was just your local Blues girls with the occasional kind of. I guess they were classed as foreigners then, someone who's a bit further away, you know. But you know, I was just watching the under-21s as well today. You didn't have an under-21s team. You had your under-16 age group, and then you only had one way to go, which was, I was lucky that I was able to work hard and get into the first team at that age, but it's just, you know, there's great opportunities now for the kids, which is it's more challenging to break into the first team, isn't it? Because, you know, clubs like Birmingham, even the Championship, are attracting these top foreign international players. And how do you find that? You know, I bet it's quite cool in the sense of different cultures, but
I think it's great. I think again, similar to yourself, when I first joined the club, there was a number of young talented footballers left Birmingham at the academy, and I think as a senior player to hear that, I think it's quite disappointing, because obviously I've come from Scotland, where the game was developing, and those kind of young players, you want to try and keep the most talented ones to help feed into the first team. And I think that was definitely something I was passionate about, to make sure that they have somewhere that they want to aspire and stay, because we can't be losing our best talent and going to rival clubs.
No, you're right.
You don't really want that. So I think great that we have obviously international players coming in and strengthening, but for young players to come in and be able to experience and to learn from that as well, I think is great for the development of the club as well, and making sure that we still keep pulling in the best young talent coming through too, and having the facilities and the staffing and everything around it to make it as professional as possible, that is really attractive for both sides of the coin, the internationals coming in and then also young players wanting to stay here and be part of it.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think we were talking a bit earlier about like barriers. I think, because you're kind of similar age to me and have come through the women's game at a time where, you know, I think the main barriers really were probably financial. You know, I don't know if you were the same, but when I was progressing through, I think it was different because we only would sometimes still train 2 or 3 times a week, then went to that kind of hybrid model, but you know, a lot of the girls still had to go to university or have a job, you know. So the finances weren't quite there, even when the WSL started in 2011, but then when it went to more full-time, I think around like the spring series 2017, the money still wasn't enough to just purely dedicate yourself to football. You know, I was always teaching alongside. Did you have any, like when you was at Liverpool and things?
At Liverpool I was full-time, but there was other clubs like Doncaster where we had like a hybrid model, so there was a few of us that were full-time, but because half the team had jobs, we still trained at different evenings or late afternoon, and it just wasn't really kind of that full-time model. So like, I do understand the challenges. I've done it when I was in Scotland as well. We trained 4 nights a week, and I also trained 3 mornings as well as that, and travelled between Glasgow and Stirling. So like, I've done it all. So it's nice to obviously now be able to just focus solely on football, and that investment's there both in the WSL and in the Championship now.
I think of when I first broke into the Blues first team, we used to play down at Redditch United, but you'd have like your parents, maybe a few friends that would come, and then the odd man and his dog who just lived around the corner. I think you still have some of the hardcore Blues fans, but you know, we were playing from like 100 people. So that was what, nearly 20 years ago. So you just imagine what, hopefully in 20 years, well, I don't know, how do you see the game in another 20 years time?
I think hopefully it just kind of, I don't know, quadruples tenfold. Like hopefully it continues to kind of drip down into the lower tiers, and again we get more teams in the leagues to increase obviously more games, which in turn hopefully we can get more people involved. But I think it's going in a really good direction, but again it needs that continued investment from clubs and also from out with it. No, I agree. I think the quality is only going to get better. You know, you think some of our games we used to play when even the start of the WSL, but before that, when it was the Women's Premier League, like the standard of player now is just so much better. And that's just the girls, more investment. Even the 21s getting a lot more training than you know, we would have had when we were their age. So I just think hopefully it's going to be massive. But it just needs that continued investment, doesn't it, from the clubs? Keep selling out stadiums. Certainly get that way in the WSL and hopefully the Championship as well. So in terms of like obviously the game progressing, what do you think the changes have been for you, both playing and then obviously now retiring and watching? What would you say is the kind of areas that you've seen the biggest change?
We've spoken about a few. I think it's just it's every single area, isn't it? So it's the support that players get, you know, the staffing structure, facilities, just general infrastructure has got a lot better. I think that's the biggest thing. The exposure for the women's game, and like you mentioned, you know, if the home nations do well, that always helps. But I think just the WSL and even the Championship now, I think still more work to do in the Championship, but the WSL is becoming, you know, a well-known league across, you know, not just the country, the world. So that kind of visibility, games regularly now on Sky and BBC. Crowds, you know, I was at the Arsenal game against Spurs a few weeks back, you know, selling out stadiums and just think little things like, you know, the scarves with players' faces on, you know, the half and half scarves, and seeing fans with ladies' names on the back. You know, I think that was a big thing when I first saw a young kid. I was at Blues when we played at Stolling Wars, but seeing someone with my name on the back of their shirt for the first time was really like a bit of a moment, really. I'm sure you probably felt the same as well, you know. It's just everything, isn't it? I think, you know, even the academy now and the support that the kids get. You know, the 21s and the, you know, I obviously do the workshops there, but then they get education support as well in different workshops. So it's just everything. It's, you know, playing at the stadium. We had a few Champions League nights there when I was there, but you know, we weren't regularly at the stadium. I think, I really want to see that grow now.
Me too.
Yeah, you want to see, you know, it's nice to play at the stadium, but it'd be 10 times better if it was more full capacity. But and I think hopefully getting into the WSL naturally will help that. Yeah, maybe one day we'll see Blues back in the WSL with a sellout game against Arsenal. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be great.
I can commentate on the game. Get my Brummie accent back on. But that's the kind of what you want to see. That's the dream, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Just packing out stadiums for not just Blues, but all of the clubs across the WSL Championship.
Definitely.
We talked a lot about the increased visibility of the women's game, so more exposure for youngsters to see, whether it's youngsters here or just young girls, across the country. I think back to when I was really young, the only visible role model that I probably saw was the England team, and like Kelly Smith was my role model. Was yours the same as well?
I loved watching her. I did love watching her for Arsenal more so.
But there wasn't as much exposure then. It was just your England games that you'd see. You wouldn't see any club games. So how important do you think that is for the youngsters to have that visibility and to have role models and realise that it is an actual career pathway that they can have?
I think it's hugely important. I think, like you just touched on there, I used to wait for the FA Cup final to watch. That was
probably the only game actually, wasn't it?
Other than obviously like England games being on now and again, like it was the FA Cup final, whereas now like you can turn on the telly on most nights of the weekend and you can find a women's game, or you can go online and you can find a women's game. And I think like that visibility is hugely important for young girls or young boys that want to play football and think, I want to do that one day. That is actually an option, whereas like definitely growing up when I was younger, like that was never really, like I would have loved to have done it, but I just knew that I loved playing football. Didn't know that I could play it as a career, whereas now they can look and see it and go, I want to do that, and then have the opportunity to then build into, come through a grassroots team and come into then obviously playing at academy level or step straight into the team that they support, where you came through Blues. And that's so exciting. Like they can now aim to play for the team that they go and watch on a Sunday, whether it's male or female, and I think that's so exciting, and I definitely think motivating for young people that they can see it now, whereas in times gone past it maybe wasn't as visible.
So we've obviously touched on that kind of increased investment from the men's side or the club as a whole into their women's team. So how have you benefited from that as a player during your time here at Birmingham?
I think hugely more so, again, like I said earlier, in the last like even year and a half, to go from not even having a changing room to not being allowed to train on the pitch on a Saturday, to then being able to obviously train on one of the best pitch at the training ground, and have our own kind of dedicated space at the training ground just for the women's team, our own changing room, our own ice baths, hot baths. We've got like a
games room now, haven't you, as well?
That's what I mean. We've got our own dedicated team, like space where in between meetings and even breakfast that we can spend time to like bond and get to know each other better as a group. But I think just that kind of high performance environment that allows us to be, at the top of your game and recover properly. And again, just even the nutrition, the food that we've got available, and the chefs, like shout out to them, their class. And we obviously have one travelling with us on away games, which, I mean, if you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago if we would have had a chef travelling on the bus, I would have probably laughed in your face and just said, not a chance.
It's one of the players is the chef.
Just like, we never used to stay over. Now we get our own rooms when we stay, like just to allow us to be as professional and on our game and get what we need to be ready to perform. So I think it's nice to be, again, see it full circle, but again, there's still steps that the club want to still push on and develop, which is brilliant.